The morning started like any other Tuesday. Lisa had just finished her 12-hour shift at the hospital where she worked as a nurse. Her body was tired, but her mind was already thinking about making breakfast for her 8-year-old daughter, Amy. She always looked forward to these quiet mornings together before Amy went to school. As Lisa walked up the stairs to their second-floor apartment, something felt wrong. The door was slightly open, just a crack, but enough to make her heart skip a beat. She always locked that door, always living alone with a young child had made her extra careful about security. "Amy," she called out as she pushed the door open. "Sweetie, are you awake?" Silence. The apartment felt different, empty in a way that made her stomach twist. Amy's school uniform was still laid out on the couch where Lisa had placed it the night before. Her little pink backpack sat by the door, untouched, but Amy was nowhere to be seen. Lisa ran through the small apartment, checking every room, every closet, even places too small for a child to hide. "Amy, Amy, where are you?" Her voice got louder with each call, but only echoes answered back. In the living room, she noticed things that made her blood run cold. The coffee table was pushed to one side. A lamp was knocked over. Amy's favorite stuffed rabbit lay on the floor, something that never happened because Amy took it everywhere, even to bed. With shaking hands, Lisa grabbed her phone and dialed 911. "My daughter is missing," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Someone took her, please. You have to help me." The police arrived within 20 minutes, but to Lisa, it felt like hours. Officer Johnson, a kind-faced man in his 50s, listened carefully as Lisa explained what she had found. He took notes and asked questions that made Lisa's head spin. "Has Amy ever wandered off before?" he asked. "Never, she's only 8, and she knows the rules about staying inside. Any family disputes, anyone who might want to take her." Lisa thought about Amy's father, but he lived in another state and hadn't seen Amy in over a year. Besides, he was dealing with his own problems and had never shown much interest in being a father. Officer Johnson explained that most missing children cases get solved quickly. Usually, kids turn up within a day or two, he said. They might be at a friend's house or got confused about where they were supposed to be, but Lisa knew this was different. Amy wouldn't just disappear. She was a responsible child who always followed rules. Something terrible had happened, and Lisa could feel it in her bones. As the police officers searched the apartment and talked to neighbors, Lisa felt helpless. She wanted to do something, anything, but what? She had never faced anything like this before. The waiting was killing her. By afternoon, when Amy should have been coming home from school, Lisa couldn't sit still anymore. She printed hundreds of photos of Amy at the local copy shop, spending money she didn't really have. She walked through every street in their neighborhood, taping Amy's picture to every lamppost, store window, and bulletin board she could find. "Have you seen this little girl?" she asked everyone she met. Most people were kind and promised to keep an eye out, but Lisa could see the pity in their eyes, that said they understood how desperate she was. The local news station picked up the story that evening. Lisa found herself sitting in front of bright lights, trying not to cry as she begged for help. "Please, if you've seen Amy, just call the police. She's just a little girl. She needs her mum." The reporter asked her to describe Amy, and Lisa's voice broke as she talked about her daughter's laugh, her love for drawing pictures, and how she always insisted on wearing mismatched socks because they were more fun. Days passed without any real leads. The police were doing their job, but Lisa could see they were running out of ideas. They had checked with Amy's school, talked to all the neighbors, and even brought in dogs to search the nearby park. Nothing. Lisa stopped going to work. She couldn't think about anything except finding Amy. Her sister kept calling, offering to help, but Lisa barely heard her. Food had no taste. Sleep was impossible. Every sound made her jump, hoping it was Amy coming home. On the 5th day, Lisa did something she never thought she would do. She went online and posted in every missing persons group she could find. She shared Amy's photo and story, and then, in a moment of complete desperation, she wrote something that scared even her. "I'll do anything for anyone who brings my daughter home safely. I have nothing left to lose. Please, just bring her back to me." Within hours, her phone started ringing. Some calls were from people genuinely wanting to help, but others made her stomach turn. People who wanted to take advantage of a mother's desperation. Lisa quickly learned to tell the difference, but it broke her heart to realize how cruel some people could be. The police detective assigned to Amy's case, Detective Rodriguez, was a woman with teenage daughters of her own. She understood Lisa's pain, but she also worried about the dangerous path Lisa was taking. "I know you're desperate," Detective Rodriguez said during one of their meetings, "but you need to be careful. There are people out there who will try to hurt you or take advantage of your situation. Lisa nodded, but inside she didn't care about her own safety anymore. What was the point of being safe if Amy wasn't coming home? As the first week turned into the second, Lisa felt like she was drowning. Every day that passed made the chances of finding Amy seem smaller. She had used up all her vacation days at work and was facing the possibility of losing her job. Bills were piling up, but none of that mattered. Nothing mattered except Amy. Late at night, Lisa would sit in Amy's room, holding her stuffed rabbit, and trying to remember every detail of their last conversation. Had Amy seemed scared? Had she mentioned anyone new? Lisa replayed that last morning over and over, looking for clues she might have missed. The hardest part was the not knowing. Was Amy scared? Was she hurt? Was she calling for her mum? Lisa's imagination created terrible scenarios that made her physically sick. She tried to push these thoughts away, but they always came back. Friends and neighbors tried to help, bringing food and offering support, but Lisa felt completely alone. How could anyone understand what she was going through? The police kept saying they were doing everything they could, but Lisa felt like Amy was slipping further away with each passing day. By the end of the second week, Lisa had made a decision that would change everything. She couldn't just sit and wait anymore. If the police couldn't find Amy, then she would have to find her, herself, no matter what it took. 3 weeks had passed since Amy disappeared, and Lisa felt like she was living in a nightmare that wouldn't end. The hospital had been understanding at first, giving her time off to deal with the crisis, but now they needed her back, and Lisa couldn't even think about returning to work. How could she take care of other people's children when she couldn't protect her own? "I'm sorry, but I need more time," Lisa told her supervisor over the phone. Her voice was hoarse from crying and lack of sleep. "I can't come back until I find her." The conversation didn't go well. Lisa knew she was risking her job, but she didn't care. Money meant nothing if Amy wasn't coming home. Detective Rodriguez had been kind, but Lisa could see the case was getting colder. The police had fewer leads each day, and Lisa felt like they were giving up. That's when she decided to hire a private investigator. Michael Chen had been recommended by another parent whose child had gone missing 2 years earlier. He was expensive, but Lisa didn't hesitate to use her savings, her credit cards, everything she had. When Michael quoted his fee, Lisa's heart sank. It was more money than she made in 3 months. "I'll find a way to pay," she said. "Please, you have to help me." Michael was honest with her in a way that hurt but also gave her hope. "The first month is critical in cases like this," he explained. "After that, it becomes much harder. But I've found children who have been missing for months. There's always hope." Lisa clung to those words like a lifeline. Michael's approach was different from the police. He asked questions that made Lisa uncomfortable but also made her think. He wanted to know about everyone in Amy's life, every person who had access to their apartment building, every routine they followed. "Think about anyone who might have shown unusual interest in Amy," he said. "Someone who asked too many questions, someone who seemed too friendly, someone who knew your schedule." Lisa racked her brain, but nothing stood out. Amy was a friendly child, but Lisa had always been careful about strangers. She thought she had done everything right to keep her daughter safe. As days turned into weeks, Lisa found herself doing things she never imagined. She started meeting with people who claimed to have information about Amy. Most of these meetings led nowhere, but Lisa couldn't afford to ignore any possibility. One evening, she met a man in a diner who said he had seen a little girl who looked like Amy. He wanted money up front before he would share the information. Lisa knew it was probably a scam, but she paid anyway. The information was useless, just like she feared. Her sister Kelly tried to intervene. "Lisa, you're scaring me," she said during one of her visits. "You're not eating, you're not sleeping, and you're meeting with dangerous people. Amy wouldn't want this for you." "Don't tell me what Amy would want," Lisa snapped. "She's my daughter. I'll do whatever it takes to find her." Kelly backed down, but Lisa could see the worry in her eyes. Everyone thought she was losing her mind, but Lisa knew she was the only one who truly understood how much Amy needed her. The private investigator made a discovery that changed everything. He found out that there had been reports of suspicious activity in their area. Other parents had noticed a man watching children at playgrounds. There were rumors of people trying to approach kids near schools. "We might be dealing with something bigger than we thought," Michael told Lisa. "There could be a network of people involved in this." The words hit Lisa like a physical blow. The idea that Amy might have been taken by criminals, that she might be far away, was almost too much to bear. But it also gave her something to focus on. Lisa began traveling to different cities, chasing leads and following up on reported sightings. She spent money she didn't have on gas, hotels, and food. She drove hundreds of miles based on tips that usually led nowhere. In one city, she was sure she saw Amy in a shopping mall. Lisa ran after a little girl with similar hair, calling Amy's name. When the child turned around, it wasn't Amy. The girl's mother was angry and scared, and security guards had to calm the situation down. Lisa sat in her car in the parking lot afterward, crying until she had no tears left. She was losing herself in this search, but she couldn't stop. Stopping meant giving up on Amy, and she would never do that. The financial pressure was getting worse. Lisa had maxed out her credit cards and borrowed money from Kelly. She was behind on rent and had started selling her belongings, her laptop, her jewelry, even Amy's toys that she thought Amy might not miss when she came home. But the worst part was the loneliness. People had stopped calling as much. The news had moved on to other stories. Even some of her friends seemed to avoid her, probably because they didn't know what to say anymore. Lisa spent her days online, reading about other missing children cases, looking for patterns, for hope. She joined support groups for parents of missing children, but even there, she felt isolated. Some parents had gotten their children back, others had found closure, even if it wasn't the kind they wanted. Lisa was stuck in the middle with no answers and no peace. Late one night, Lisa was reading about a case where a child had been found after being missing for 6 months. The story gave her hope, but it also made her realize something scary. She had been so focused on finding Amy that she had forgotten how to live. Her apartment was a mess. She barely showered or changed clothes. She ate only when Kelly forced her to. She was becoming someone Amy wouldn't recognize. "I need help," Lisa whispered to herself in the darkness. But even as she said it, she knew she wouldn't stop searching. She couldn't. Amy was out there somewhere, and Lisa was the only one who would never give up on her. The next morning, Lisa made a decision that would change everything. She couldn't keep doing this alone. She needed someone who understood what she was going through. Someone who could help her find Amy without losing herself completely. She just didn't know yet that help was coming from the most unexpected place. For months had passed since Amy's disappearance when Lisa first heard from Daniel. She was sitting in a coffee shop, staring at her laptop screen, reading through countless missing person reports when her phone buzzed with a message from someone she didn't know. "I heard your story on a podcast," the message read. "I think I can help. I'm not asking for anything. I just want to help you find your daughter." Lisa had received hundreds of messages like this, and most of them led to disappointment or worse. But something about this one felt different. The person had included his full name, his phone number, and even a link to his professional website. Daniel worked as a wilderness guide, taking people on hiking trips and teaching survival skills. But according to his website, he had also spent 15 years in the military, specializing in search and rescue operations. The photos showed a man in his mid-40s with kind eyes and a serious expression. Lisa was tired of being disappointed, but she was also tired of doing this alone. She decided to call. "Hello, this is Daniel," came a calm, steady voice. "Hi, this is Lisa. You sent me a message about my daughter Amy." "Yes, I did. First, let me say how sorry I am for what you're going through. I can't imagine the pain you must be feeling." Lisa had heard those words so many times, but the way Daniel said them felt genuine. He didn't rush to offer solutions or make promises he couldn't keep. "I listened to your story on that true crime podcast," Daniel continued. "Something about the details stuck with me. I've worked on missing person cases before, and there are things that don't add up in the official investigation." "What do you mean?" Lisa asked, feeling a spark of hope she tried to push down. "I'd like to meet with you and go over everything from the beginning. Sometimes fresh eyes can see patterns that others miss. I won't charge you anything. This isn't about money for me." Lisa had learned to be suspicious of anyone offering free help, but Daniel's approach was different. He wasn't making grand promises or asking for anything up front. He just wanted to help. They met the next day at the same coffee shop where Lisa had received his message. Daniel arrived exactly on time, carrying a simple notebook and wearing clothes that looked practical rather than flashy. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. "Before we start," Daniel said, "I want you to know my background. I spent 15 years in the army, mostly doing search and rescue work. After I got out, I started my guide business, but I still help with missing person cases when I can. I've helped find 12 people over the past 5 years." Lisa felt something she hadn't felt in months. Real hope. This wasn't someone trying to take advantage of her desperation. This was a professional who knew what he was doing. Daniel pulled out a simple recorder. "Do you mind if I record this?" It helps me remember details later. For the next 3 hours, Daniel asked Lisa to tell him everything again from the beginning, but his questions were different from what the police had asked. He wanted to know about timing, about small details that seemed unimportant. You said you found the door slightly open, Daniel said. How open exactly? Could you demonstrate with your hands? Lisa showed him, and Daniel made a note, and the coffee table was moved. Which direction? As they talked, Lisa realized that Daniel was building a picture in his mind. He wasn't just collecting information. He was trying to understand exactly what had happened that morning. The police focused on who might have taken Amy, Daniel explained, but I want to understand how they took her. The physical evidence tells a story, and that story can lead us to answers. Daniel also asked questions about Amy's routine, about the building where they lived, about anyone who would have known Lisa's work schedule. His military training showed in how methodical he was. Most people assume that child abductions are random, Daniel said, but in my experience, there's usually some connection. Someone who knew your family, knew your routine, knew when Amy would be alone. Over the following days, Daniel did something no one else had done. He visited their apartment building and studied it like a crime scene. He talked to neighbors the police had already interviewed, but he asked different questions. I'm not trying to replace the police investigation, he told Lisa. I'm trying to supplement it. Sometimes they miss things because they're looking at too many cases at once. Daniel discovered that the building's security cameras had been broken. For 2 weeks before Amy disappeared, the police had noted this, but they hadn't investigated why they were broken or who might have known about it. This wasn't random, Daniel told Lisa after his first week of investigation. Someone planned this. They knew about the cameras, they knew your schedule, and they knew how to get into the building. Lisa felt sick, but also relieved. Finally, someone was taking her seriously. Someone believed that Amy's disappearance wasn't just bad luck. Daniel's approach was completely different from everyone else who had tried to help. He set clear boundaries from the beginning. When Lisa offered to pay him, he refused. When she offered other forms of compensation in her desperation, he gently but firmly said no. I'm here to help you find Amy, he said. That's all. I don't want anything from you except your cooperation and trust. This confused Lisa at first. Everyone else had wanted something. Money, attention, or worse. Daniel just wanted to help, and he proved it by his actions. He spent his own money on gas and equipment. He used his vacation time from his guide business to work on Amy's case. He even reached out to his contacts in law enforcement and the military for advice. Why are you doing this? Lisa asked him one day as they sat in his truck, looking at maps of the area. Daniel was quiet for a moment. I have a daughter too, he said finally. She's grown up now, but I remember when she was Amy's age. I can't imagine what you're going through, but I know I'd want someone to help me if I was in your situation. For the first time in months, Lisa felt like she wasn't alone. Daniel treated her like a partner in the investigation, not like a victim to be pitied. He asked for her input and listened to her ideas. More importantly, he gave her hope based on facts, not empty promises. He showed her evidence and explained his thinking when he said they were making progress. Lisa believed him because she could see the work he was doing. Daniel also did something else that surprised Lisa. He made sure she was taking care of herself. He insisted they take breaks for meals. He reminded her to call her sister. He even suggested she talk to a counselor about dealing with the stress. Finding Amy is important, he said, but you're important too. Amy's going to need you to be strong when she comes home. When she comes home, not if. Daniel's confidence gave Lisa strength she didn't know she still had. By the end of the 3rd week working together, Daniel had uncovered more leads than the police had found in 4 months. He had a theory about who might have taken Amy and why. Most importantly, he had a plan for finding her. Are you ready to do this? Daniel asked Lisa as they prepared for the next phase of their search. For the first time since Amy had disappeared, Lisa felt truly ready. She wasn't alone anymore. The breakthrough came on a rainy Thursday morning when Daniel was reviewing Amy's school records for the 3rd time. He had spread all the documents across Lisa's kitchen table, looking for anything that might have been missed. That's when he noticed something that made his blood run cold. Lisa, come look at this, Daniel called from the kitchen. Lisa rushed over, her heart pounding. Over the past month of working together, she had learned to trust Daniel's instincts. When he found something important, his voice changed in a way that both excited and terrified her. Look at this maintenance record, Daniel said, pointing to a document the school had provided. Someone named Robert Hayes was doing repair work at Amy's school the week before she disappeared. But look at this. He showed Lisa another document. The school fired him the day after Amy went missing. They said he lied on his application about his background. Lisa felt her legs go weak. Why didn't the police know about this? Because the school didn't report it properly. They were probably embarrassed about not checking his background before hiring him. This guy had access to the school, knew the children's routines, and disappeared right after Amy was taken. Daniel immediately started researching Robert Hayes. What he found made both of them sick to their stomachs. Hayes had been arrested in another state 2 years earlier for inappropriate behavior around children, but the charges had been dropped. Due to lack of evidence, he's been using different names, Daniel explained as he showed Lisa printouts from his computer. Robert Hayes, Bob Henderson, Bobby Harrison. He moves from place to place, gets jobs where he can be around kids, then disappears when people start asking questions. Lisa felt angry and terrified at the same time. How is this possible? How can someone like this just move around and get jobs at schools? Because the system isn't perfect, Daniel said grimly, and people like Hayes know how to work around it. Daniel spent the next 2 days tracking Hayes' movements. He contacted his old military friends who now worked in law enforcement, and slowly, a picture began to emerge. Hayes had been spotted in several towns over the past few months, always staying in cheap motels or abandoned buildings. I think I know where he might be, Daniel told Lisa on Saturday morning. There's an old logging area about 3 hours north of here. Lots of abandoned cabins and buildings. It's the kind of place someone could hide without being noticed. Lisa's heart was racing. We need to call the police. We will, Daniel said. But first, I want to check it out. If we're wrong, we don't want to waste their time. If we're right, we'll have solid evidence to give them. Lisa insisted on going with him. Daniel tried to talk her out of it, but she was determined. She's my daughter. I'm not staying behind. They drove north in Daniel's truck, following back roads through forests and mountains. The area was beautiful but isolated. Lisa couldn't imagine Amy being brought to such a remote place. But Daniel explained that was exactly why Hayes would choose it. People like him don't want witnesses, Daniel said. They look for places where they won't be disturbed. After 2 hours of driving, they reached the old logging area. There were several abandoned buildings scattered through the woods, connected by overgrown dirt roads. Daniel parked the truck out of sight and pulled out a pair of binoculars. We're going to be very careful, he told Lisa. We're just gathering information. If we see anything suspicious, we call the police immediately. They spent the afternoon checking each building. Most were empty, with broken windows and doors hanging off their hinges. But the 5th cabin they approached was different. There were fresh tire tracks in the mud outside, and someone had put new boards over some of the windows. Daniel motioned for Lisa to stay back while he crept closer to the cabin. Through a gap in the boards he could see inside. His heart nearly stopped when he saw what was there. A child's jacket hung on a nail by the door, pink with flower patterns. Lisa had described Amy's jacket to him dozens of times, and this looked exactly like it. Daniel quickly but quietly returned to where Lisa was waiting. I think we found something, he whispered. There's a jacket in there that matches Amy's description. Lisa started to run toward the cabin, but Daniel caught her arm. Wait, don't know if anyone's in there. We need to be smart about this. They watched the cabin for another hour but saw no movement. Daniel decided to get closer and look for more evidence. What he found made his stomach turn. Through another gap in the boards, he could see a small notebook on a table. The cover was decorated with stickers and drawings that looked like a child's artwork. We need to call the police now, Daniel said when he returned to Lisa. But I don't think Amy is here anymore. The place feels empty. Lisa felt torn between relief and despair. If Amy wasn't here, where was she? But at least they had found proof that she had been here, that she might still be alive. The police arrived within an hour. Detective Rodriguez was among them, and she listened carefully as Daniel explained what they had found. The officers searched the cabin and confirmed what Daniel had suspected. Amy had been kept there, but probably not recently. There are signs that someone left in a hurry, Detective Rodriguez told them, maybe a week or 2 ago. But we found more evidence that confirms Amy was here. Lisa felt sick thinking about her daughter being held in that terrible place, but she also felt hope. The evidence proved Amy had been alive weeks after she disappeared. There was still a chance to find her. Daniel studied the tire tracks and other evidence around the cabin. His military training in tracking was finally paying off. He's moving frequently, Daniel told the police, probably staying ahead of anyone who might be looking for him. Detective Rodriguez looked at Daniel with new respect. You've done more detective work in a month than we managed in 4. Do you have any idea where he might have gone? Daniel pulled out a map he had been studying. Based on his pattern, I think he's moving toward the old mining towns further north. Lots of abandoned buildings, no cell phone service. Perfect for someone who wants to stay hidden. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. The mining area was even more remote than where they were now, but she also felt something she hadn't felt in months. Real hope. They were getting closer to Amy. We're going to find her, Daniel said. And for the first time, Lisa completely believed him. As they prepared to leave the cabin, Lisa found herself looking back at the place where Amy had been held. She imagined her daughter's fear and loneliness, but she also imagined Amy's strength. Amy was a fighter, just like her mother. "We're coming for you, baby," Lisa whispered. "Mummy's coming." The trail was getting warmer, and Lisa could feel that their nightmare was finally about to end. The old mining town looked like something from a ghost story. Empty buildings lined dusty streets where weeds grew through cracked pavement. Most of the structures were falling apart, their windows broken and doors hanging loose. But Daniel's trained eye noticed something the others might miss. That building there, he pointed to a two-story structure that looked more solid than the rest. Someone's been maintaining it. Look at the roof. Those boards are newer than the others. Lisa strained her eyes to see what Daniel was seeing. After 5 months of searching, her daughter might be just a few hundred yards away. The thought made her hands shake. Detective Rodriguez had brought a full team this time. They had learned to trust Daniel's instincts after the cabin discovery. The mining town was spread out over several miles, with buildings scattered in every direction. It would take hours to search everything. "We need to be very careful," Detective Rodriguez explained to the team. "If Hayes is here with a child, we don't want to spook him into doing something desperate." Daniel volunteered to scout the area first. His military experience in dangerous situations made him the obvious choice. Lisa wanted to go with him, but everyone convinced her to wait with the police vehicles. "I promise I'll bring her back to you," Daniel told Lisa before he left. "But I need you to stay safe. Amy's going to need her mum." Daniel moved through the town like a shadow, checking each building carefully. Most were completely empty, but a few showed signs of recent use. Old campfire remains, empty food cans, places where someone might have slept. The two-story building he had noticed was different. As he got closer, Daniel could see that someone had not only repaired parts of it, but had also set up what looked like a living space inside. There was even a small generator humming quietly behind the building. Daniel's heart nearly stopped when he heard something that made him freeze in place. A child's voice, singing softly. It was coming from inside the building. Moving as quietly as possible, Daniel found a window where he could see inside. What he saw made him both relieved and angry. A little girl with dark hair was sitting on a mattress in the corner of the room. She looked thinner than in her photos, and her clothes were dirty, but she was alive. It was Amy. Daniel had to force himself to stay calm and think clearly. He could see Amy, but he couldn't see Hayes. The man might be in another room, or he might be out getting supplies. Either way, Daniel needed to be smart about this. He quietly contacted Detective Rodriguez by radio. "I found her. She's alive and appears to be unharmed. But I don't see the suspect." Within minutes, the police had surrounded the building. Detective Rodriguez coordinated the approach, while Daniel continued to watch Amy through the window. The little girl seemed to be alone, but they couldn't be sure. "Amy," Daniel called softly through the window. "Amy, can you hear me?" The little girl looked up, confused and frightened. She had probably been told not to talk to strangers. "My name is Daniel. I'm here with your mum. She's been looking for you." Amy's eyes got wide. "My mum is here. She's right outside. We're going to get you out of there, okay? But I need you to be very brave." The police officers entered the building carefully, checking each room. Hayes was nowhere to be found, but evidence suggested he had been there recently. His belongings were scattered around, and there was fresh food in a cooler. When the officers reached Amy, she was scared, but cooperative. She had been through a terrible experience, but she was strong. The first thing she asked was if her mum was really there. Lisa heard the radio communication and knew they had found Amy. When she saw her daughter being carried out of the building by a police officer, she ran faster than she had ever run in her life. "Mom," Amy cried when she saw Lisa, "I knew you would find me." The reunion was everything Lisa had dreamed of for 5 months, but also different than she had imagined. Amy was thin and scared, but she was alive. She was home. At the hospital, doctors checked Amy thoroughly. She was dehydrated and underweight, but otherwise physically okay. The emotional healing would take longer, but Amy was surrounded by people who loved her. "She's going to be fine," the doctor told Lisa. "Children are more resilient than we think." With proper care and counseling, she recovered from this. Hayes was caught 3 days later trying to cross the state border. Without Amy to worry about, the police could focus entirely on finding him. He was arrested and charged with multiple serious crimes. During his trial, months later, Lisa learned the full story of what had happened. Hayes had been watching their family for weeks before taking Amy. He had studied Lisa's work schedule and knew exactly when Amy would be alone. Amy's testimony was hard to hear, but it also showed how brave and smart she had been. She had tried to leave clues for anyone who might be looking for her. She had also never stopped believing that her mum would find her. "I kept telling him, my mum was coming," Amy told the court. "I knew she wouldn't give up on me." The trial brought closure, but the real healing happened at home. Amy had nightmares at first, and there were days when she didn't want to leave Lisa's side. But slowly, with the help of counselors and the love of her family, she began to recover. Daniel remained a part of their lives, but in a different way. He had become like family, someone who understood what they had been through together. Amy called him Uncle Daniel, and he always made time for her school events and birthday parties. "I don't know how to thank you," Lisa told Daniel one day, months after the rescue. "You don't need to thank me," Daniel replied. "Seeing Amy happy and safe is all the thanks I need." Lisa returned to work at the hospital, but she also became an advocate for missing children. She spoke at conferences and helped other parents navigate the system. Her experience had taught her how broken some parts of the system were, but also how much good people could accomplish when they worked together. Amy grew up strong and confident, though she always remembered her experience. When she was older, she said she wanted to help other children who had been through similar situations. The experience changed Lisa in ways she never expected. She had learned that the world contained both terrible evil and incredible kindness. People like Hayes existed, but so did people like Daniel. "The worst thing that ever happened to us also led us to some of the best people we've ever met," Lisa told her sister one day. Years later, when Amy was in high school, she wrote an essay about her experience. She ended it with words that made Lisa cry happy tears. "My mom never gave up on me, even when everyone else said it was hopeless. She taught me that love is stronger than fear, and that there are always good people willing to help if you know how to find them." Lisa kept that essay framed in her living room, a reminder that even in the darkest times, love and hope can light the way home.